There's a moment in some client meetings when the transition looks clean on paper, but the client experience is about to feel anything but clean.
Inside the firm, it can seem pretty simple. One advisor steps out, another steps in, and the transition is already moving.
The meeting gets scheduled, the CRM gets updated, everybody internally knows what's happening, and still, the client may be sitting there feeling like the person who made this relationship feel steady is suddenly gone.
And that's the part firms can miss. This is not just a handoff, it's a trust test.
This is Advising Humans, where we talk about the human side of advice and what's happening underneath the visible conversation.
In this mini episode, we're starting with one of the clearest truths in the whole series. Advisor change doesn't just shift the relationship, it reveals what the client was really trusting all along.
Because firms and clients usually experience this very differently.
The firm may see a smooth transition that's already in motion. The client may feel like the person who knew them, understood their family, and made this relationship feel steady is suddenly gone.
And that's why this moment can carry more weight than it first appears.
Because in wealth management, this is not only about performance, it's also about trust. It's the feeling that someone understands what matters to you, what worries you, and what kind of guidance helps you feel more grounded, not more overwhelmed.
So when the relationship changes, the client is not just reacting to a new point of contact.
They may be reacting to the break in familiarity, confidence, and continuity.
Which is why a transition that looks complete on paper may not feel complete to the client.
And a firm can do everything right internally and still leave the client feeling unsure. The forms are updated, the accounts stay in place, the introduction gets made, and still, underneath all of that, the client may be asking whether they still feel known here.
That's the line that lands with me. Do I still feel known here?
That's often the deeper question, not just who is taking over, but what happens now to the trust the client had with the previous advisor.
And this matters even more because advisor change is not some rare edge case anymore.
No, this is becoming more common across the industry. A report by Cerulli Associates shows that over 100,000 advisors are expected to retire over the next decade. That's about 37% of the advisors, and those advisors actually control more than 40% of industry assets.
Which means more clients are going to go through some version of this, whether they chose it or not.
And retirement is only part of it. Advisors move firms, teams get reshuffled, firms merge, clients get reassigned. So, the number of relationships going through transition is growing.
That means more firms are going to be tested in exactly this way.
Yes, and the firms that treat this like a simple handoff are more likely to miss what the client is actually reacting to.
Which is not just change. It's the question of whether confidence is going to hold.
That's the real issue. A transition can look complete on paper, but that doesn't mean trust moved with it.
I think that's probably the clearest way to put it.
I think so. Because if trust was built only with one person, then advisor change can feel much more destabilizing than the firm expects. But if trust has been built more broadly into the experience, the transition has a much better chance of feeling steady.
So this kind of moment reveals something important.
It does. It shows what was really holding the relationship together all along, and whether that trust was sitting with one person or built more broadly into the experience.
If this conversation made you think differently about advisor change, share it with another advisor or leader who cares about creating a steadier client experience when trust is on the line.
And if your team wants a more consistent way to handle advisor change, the Advisor Change Transition Playbook Suite for Advisors gives you shared language, meeting flow, and practical tools to create that experience across advisors.
Because the moments that test trust are often the moments that matter most, and that's really what we explore here.
Thanks for listening to Advising Humans.
We'll see you next time.